You say you want peace, but what you often mean is quiet. Quiet from pressure, quiet from noise, quiet from the endless demands that seem to multiply the moment you sit down. And yet, the silence you finally manage to find rarely lasts more than a few seconds before the mind starts running again, searching for problems that don't exist, replaying conversations that already ended, imagining futures that never come. It's not that you can't find calm, it's that you don't yet know how to trust it. If you're a man in your 30s or 40s, this tension is familiar. You've built your life through effort, career, family, stability. And yet the more you achieve, the less rest you seem to feel. You're restless, not because you lack direction, but because your inner world is at war with itself. Half of you wants to slow down, while the other half believes that if you ever do, you'll fall behind. You crave calm, but you secretly fear it will dull your edge. You want peace, but you still equate tension with meaning. Carl Jung understood this better than anyone. He saw that most modern men are torn between two competing instincts, the urge to expand and conquer, and the deeper urge to turn inward and integrate. And until you learn how to balance those two, calm will always feel like an unfamiliar language. So today, we'll explore 7 psychological principles, or as I like to call them, 7 Jungian secrets, that can help you finally feel calm from the inside out. They aren't tips or tricks, they're deeper patterns of understanding that reveal how to restore balance in a life that's been shaped by too much striving and not enough stillness. Let's begin with the first one, because it's where most men go wrong before they ever begin. 1. Stop mistaking calm for passivity. You've been trained to believe that calm is what happens when nothing's happening, when things are easy, predictable, and still. But that's not calm, that's stagnation. True calm is not the absence of movement, it's the presence of mastery. It's what happens when the surface might look still, but underneath it, there's deep structure, a foundation that doesn't shake even when the waves hit hard. Jung would say that calm is not the opposite of power. It's power under control. Most men avoid calm because they confuse it with passivity. They think slowing down means losing drive, letting others win, stepping out of competition. But calm isn't quitting. It's clarity. It's knowing which battles are worth fighting and which are worth letting go. The man who cannot rest is not driven. He's anxious. The man who can stay still in a world addicted to movement is the one who truly leads. You'll know you've started to embody this when you can stop reacting every time something threatens your ego. Calm isn't the lack of fire. It's the moment you realize you can hold the flame without burning yourself. And that's what brings us to the next principle, one that sits right at the heart of Jung's entire philosophy. If this journey eases something inside you, stay with us. Subscribe, and each step will bring a little more clarity. Thank you. 2. Balance comes from the tension of opposites. Jung called it the transcendent function, the ability to hold two opposing truths without collapsing into either. It's one of the hardest things a man can learn, and it's also the key to inner peace. When life feels chaotic, it's often because you're trapped in a polarity. You want freedom, but you also want commitment. You want independence, but you need connection. You want to feel safe, but you crave challenge. Most men try to resolve this tension by choosing sides, by deciding which value to serve and killing off the other. But the psyche doesn't want resolution. It wants integration. You're meant to hold both: strength and softness, structure and surrender, discipline and spontaneity. The tension between them is not a problem to fix. It's the crucible where character forms. When you can stop demanding that life feel consistent, you'll start feeling calm, not because everything is balanced, but because you've accepted that balance itself is dynamic. Peace doesn't come from one side winning. It comes from learning to sit comfortably in the middle of contradiction. And that's exactly what the next principle expands on. Because every man who struggles with chaos has one thing in common. He's at war with his own shadow. 3. Make peace with your shadow. Every part of you that you've rejected, denied, or judged as unworthy doesn't disappear. It goes underground, into the unconscious, where it continues to shape your behavior from behind the curtain. You can't calm a mind that's still running from itself. The shadow is not evil. It's simply everything about you that didn't fit into your image of who you were supposed to be. Maybe you buried your anger because it made you feel guilty. Maybe you buried your sensitivity because you were told it was weak. Maybe you buried your confidence because others resented it. But all of those exiled qualities are still alive, waiting to be acknowledged. And here's the truth Jung kept repeating. Until you integrate the shadow, it runs your life. And you'll call it fate. You'll keep finding yourself in the same conflicts, reacting to the same triggers, attracted to the same people who mirror the parts you can't face. The man who doesn't know his own darkness will always fear it in others. But the man who confronts it becomes unshakable because he no longer has anything to hide from. When you stop seeing your shadow as an enemy and start seeing it as a messenger, calm starts to become your default state. You stop needing the world to behave perfectly just to feel okay, because you've stopped demanding perfection from yourself. And that leads us naturally into the next truth, the one that makes peace sustainable. 4. You can't heal what you keep resisting. Every emotion you refuse to feel becomes tension in your body. The shoulders you can't relax, the chest that always feels tight, the restlessness that kicks in when things go quiet. Those are not physical flaws, they're unprocessed feelings. Jung often said, what you resist not only persists, but grows stronger. That's not a metaphor. It's how the psyche maintains balance. What you suppress returns with more intensity until you finally turn toward it. Men are taught to control emotions, not to understand them. You learned to tighten instead of release, to analyze instead of feel, to outthink what you should have simply allowed. But there's no calm without contact. Emotional avoidance doesn't protect you, it fragments you. Next time you feel anger, grief, or anxiety rising, don't reach for distraction. Sit with it. Ask, what is this emotion trying to teach me? Every feeling carries intelligence. It tells you what boundary was crossed, what value was ignored, what need went unmet. When you learn to listen rather than suppress, your emotions stop ambushing you. They become signals instead of storms. And speaking of storms, that's where our next principle begins. Because calm isn't the absence of chaos, it's the way you move through it. 5. The storm isn't the enemy, your resistance is. Life will never stop testing you. Projects will fail, relationships will shake, plans will fall apart. You cannot eliminate the storm. What you can do is stop fighting it. Jung's approach to individuation was never about escaping difficulty. It was about transforming your relationship to it. Every man reaches a point where he must stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what in me is this trying to grow? When you stop needing everything to go your way, calm emerges naturally. Because peace is not control. It's cooperation with reality. You can tell how mature a man has become by how he behaves when things stop working. Does he panic, blame, retreat? Or does he breathe, observe, and adapt? Calm doesn't mean the storm stops. It means the storm stops owning you. Before we continue, I want to pause here and invite you into something deeper. Take a second and reflect. Where in your life do you feel the most resistance right now? Where do you find yourself fighting reality instead of working with it? Drop your reflection in the comments. It's not about oversharing. It's about witnessing your own growth in public. because another man, reading it, might finally feel less alone in his storm. Now, let's move to the sixth principle, one that changes everything once you really live it. 6. Calm comes from alignment, not effort. You keep thinking peace will come once you fix everything, but peace doesn't follow control, it follows congruence. Every time you act against your values, saying yes when you mean no, performing strength instead of living it, hiding truth to keep the peace, you create inner friction. That friction builds resentment, anxiety, and exhaustion. Calm isn't something you achieve, it's something you return to when your words, values, and actions finally align. A misaligned man lives in chaos no matter how organized his life looks on the outside. But a man living in integrity can walk through uncertainty and still feel centered, because his peace doesn't depend on outcomes. It depends on honesty. Ask yourself, where are you pretending? Where are you betraying yourself just to avoid disappointing others? Real peace requires sacrifice. You can't have calm if you keep choosing comfort over truth. Once you align, you realize that the world doesn't need to change for you to feel at ease. You just need to stop living in conflict with yourself. And that brings us to the final principle, the one that ties all of this together. 7. Wholeness, not perfection, is the real calm. You spend years trying to be flawless, the perfect partner, the perfect father, the perfect professional. But perfection is sterile. It doesn't breathe. It doesn't connect. Jung understood that the goal of human development isn't to become perfect, but whole, to integrate every aspect of yourself into a single coherent being. That means accepting imperfection not as failure, but as texture. The men who radiate calm are not those who've eliminated all flaws. They're the ones who've stopped hiding from them. When you're no longer trying to edit yourself into acceptability, your nervous system relaxes. You stop fighting your own reflection. Wholeness gives you permission to breathe again, to be human, to stumble, to learn, to grow. And from that space, calm is no longer something you chase. It becomes who you are. So here's the truth. Calm is not a gift life gives you when you finally get it all right. It's the result of integration, of living without pretending, without resisting, without splitting yourself across masks and expectations. Stop mistaking calm for passivity. Embrace the tension of opposites. Make peace with your shadow. Feel what you resist. Work with the storm, not against it. Live in alignment, and let wholeness, not perfection, be your compass. You don't have to fight for calm anymore. You just have to stop betraying the parts of you that already know how to rest. Because calm is not something you earn. It's what remains when the war inside you finally ends. Be that man, not perfectly, reliably. Begin. If you've stayed with me until now, it means you're searching for something deeper. Maybe an answer you've carried since childhood. Don't stop here. Perhaps the next video holds the key you've been waiting for, the piece that helps you untangle another thread of your story.